PM Modi doesn't want, the Afghanistan soil to be used for perpetuation of terror against India. So he was very clear in his words, and the world won't be surprised. I won't be surprised too if the next airstrike or surgical strike will happen in the lands of Afghanistan from India. So if India is going to attack terror, irrespective of origin of the terror in any country.
Namaste everybody, welcome to Citti Media. My name is Citti, your host. In today's current affairs talk, we are joined by a veteran from the Indian Navy. He's also a defense and security analyst, and he's an author of 2 books, very, very interesting books. And today we are here to talk about Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States and the UNGA summit. Mananji, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Yeah, Jai Hind, Sharanji. It's a pleasure to be here on Citti Media, and great to be here. I'm quite good. Please go ahead.
Jai Hind, Mananji. And first of all, let me dive right into the first question. You've been very active in terms of covering Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States because it is very, very strategically important. Now, could you tell us how India was placed at the UNGA this year and what are the highlights from the conference?
I think PM Modi's visit at the UNGA was probably the most awaited, and his speech at the UNGA was probably the most awaited speech of this year's UN General Assembly, because just because that India's role in fighting with the global pandemic is well renowned, and when India has come up with, already we have 2 vaccines which are homemade, and we are vaccinating like a country in a day. Small country, we are already vaccinating a small country in a day.
Yes.
2.5 crore vaccinations in a day is a huge thing. So it was very important for India from a strategic point of view, because during the if we talk about PM Modi's previous visit to UNGA, when he highlighted India's global diplomacy and all, but he strategically doesn't take name of Pakistan while addressing the UNGA. So the ignorance of Mr. Imran Khan, ignorance is hurting Mr. Imran Khan and even all the Pakistanis all around. And when he said at UNGA that India is the mother of all democracies, so he put India on the top of the world when it comes to being a democracy, and the fight that only India could give, only India has given to China when it comes to Indo-Pacific, when it come to the Galwan Valley fight. So the world has taken notice. Okay, this is the country which has stood up to the hegemony of China. This is the country that has got the capacity, that has got the naval power to stand up against the China's hegemony. Even our fight against COVID has been very acclaimed. Our vaccine diplomacy, which is when he calls it vaccine maitri. So it is a renowned thing, and as we are now comfortable with the number of vaccines that we make, we are again going to reintroduce the vaccine maitri for the global good. So India is very far ahead in product, even producing the vaccine, as well as disseminating those vaccines in people who have no access to vaccines. So India is at the UNGA was very. So many nations were keen to hear out what Indian PMA is going to say. And when it comes to terrorism, if we think about the situation in Afghanistan, the entire world is worried about it, as US has withdrew. So sudden withdrawal of US troops has happened, and it is considered as a big setback for world peace, because when you have UN designated terrorist heading a state, and things
Yes.
are very worrisome for entire world. And in the previous visit, I remember that the PM said that there are no good Taliban and bad Taliban. You
Right.
cannot just there is an issue with the United Nations designation of a terrorist. The way world is divided over designating somebody a terrorist, and terrorist organizations ka bhi jo, are also, there is an issue with it. There is no uh, globally accepted definition of terrorism. So some terrorists are good terrorists for the world, or for a particular country, and some terrorists are freedom fighters. This is what PM said in the previous UNG assembly speech. This time around also he reiterated the same words, and on a different note, he said that Afghanistan's territory should never be used for terrorism against any country. This is the biggest worry for not only for entire world but for India, because the it is heard, it is said that the LET and Jaish-e-Mohammed, they have shifted their terror training camps into heartlands of Afghanistan, so that they are believing that India won't be able to attack them in so deep inside Afghanistan, and due to our surgical strikes and airstrikes, they are so much worried that they have found a new heaven inside Afghanistan, because Taliban is basically their well-wisher. The links of OBL, Osama bin Laden, and Haqqanis with ISI are renowned. The links of Osama bin Laden and Haqqanis with LET and Jaish-e-Mohammed are well known. Masood Azhar was a close friend of OBL till he was alive. But Osama bin Laden, it is a surprising thing that it was Osama bin Laden who helped Masood Azhar to set up the camp that India destroyed later on in Balakot. The Balakot camp was financed by Osama bin Laden, and he lived just 20 kilometers near to the Abbottabad house of OBL, where he was hidden. He was hiding for so many years. That house is only 20 kilometers from that Balakot camp that India destroyed.
Right.
So the connections are there to establish the entire world. I think the CIA knows it very well, but they have a soft corner for Pakistan and ISI. So these things were kept in abeyance, and maybe the top leadership of US were, I don't know whether they were known to it or not, but they have their ignorance has eventually helped Pakistan, and Pakistan beating the United States of America. That is what I believe has happened in Afghanistan. PM Modi doesn't want, the Afghanistan soil to be used for perpetuation of terror against India. So he was very clear in his words, and the world won't be surprised. I won't be surprised too if the next airstrike or surgical strike will happen in the lands of Afghanistan from India. So if India is going to attack terror, irrespective of origin of the terror in any country, his concept is very clear.
Right. Mananji, you bring up a very, very important point. Like you rightly said, this meeting of Prime Minister Modi, his presence in the UNGA and him meeting the Quad leaders are of strategic importance. But you bring up a very pertinent point, and that is that Americans seem to have had a soft corner for various different reasons towards Pakistan. Do you think this particular episode, especially after the Taliban takeover and a very humiliating exit from Afghanistan, will change their perspective towards India?
This is a very good question, Sharanji. See, the perspective of US towards Pakistan was they had a belief since 70s that Pakistan is their hedge against rising India. They considered India to be a threat when in the times of President Nixon.
Right.
So over a period of time, since last, say, 10, 20, 30 years, India is having good relations with the US. But their love for ISI and Pakistan is well renowned. But when this happened, when US was stabbed in the back in Afghanistan by the ISI. So these are the times. Times are changing very fast. There are experts in the military. There are veterans from the military. There are people who have resigned due to US withdrawal and US betrayal of the Afghani people from the US Marines, from the US Army. So people are feeling betrayed, and voices are coming up. I have been reading op-eds in Washington Post. I've been reading op-eds in New York Times that Pakistan's betrayal of the US is akin to something very huge, and Pakistan has been betraying them. Even in the entire world, a message is sent that Mujahideen were bred by United States of America. In reality, the Mujahideens were also a strategy of Pakistan's ISI. Even the Taliban is also an extended arm of Mujahideen, a modern variation of the Mujahideen, and they are also trained, they are also armed, they are also brainchild of Pakistan. The main these people are terror proxies. The world knows, the world knew. There were people like Mr. Hussein Haqqani. There were so many experts even in USA who were saying that it is the lens of Pakistan, it is the ISI who are the main perpetuator of terror, and terror has been their forte. It is I consider that Pakistan is while sending terrorists in Kashmir and while sending terrorists in Afghanistan, neighboring Afghanistan, Pakistan has been trying to improve their states at the proxy war, and eventually they succeeded, and they have beaten USA by staying back and sending their proxies. This is their first military success. The US defeat in Afghanistan is Pakistan's first military success. So basically, there are voices, there are hundreds of voices who have understood that their eyes have opened, that it is the terror perpetuator, it is the terroristan, it is the Pakistan which is responsible for all the wrongs in the world when it comes to terrorism.
Right. Very interesting, Mananji. If I can ask you a small follow-up, how prepared do you think India is? Because the last time insurgency grew in the 1990s, the Taliban had taken over Kabul in 1996. Of course, a lot of experts, and India is quite different from what it was 20, 30 years ago. But how much do you think we are prepared, and what kind of security threats do we have to look out for?
When it comes to dealing with Taliban, India is going hot and cold. India hasn't shown any that much aggression that US wanted. India doesn't want to send troops on ground. India will not be sending troops on ground at any cost. It is somebody else's war, and let them fight it. We are very clear in our conscience. Right. Now, and we are not soft towards Taliban, but we have to be very diplomatically correct, because if something like the IC-814 hijack happens once again, we don't want to be in a position that the last time we were in, when we had to leave global terrorist Masood Azhar. We had to release him. India doesn't want that to happen, because that is why the back channel talks are happening. That is why we are diplomatically engaging with the Taliban. And Pakistan doesn't want that. That is why Pakistan there were few people who were sympathizers of India. So ISI has pulled them down. ISI has hidden them somewhere. ISI has not let them have good posts in the Taliban government. So, right. And just before the formation of the government, presence of ISI chief in Kabul was the sign of it. Okay, how much presence, how much Pakistan has to do with the rise of Haqqanis and rise of Taliban in Afghanistan. There is a lot at stake, and India cannot stay behind. But we have no. If we forget POK, then we do not have any direct land connection with Afghanistan. So our more of it, our worry is about keeping our nation free from terror, be it narco-terrorism or be it the terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right.
Let me talk first about narco-terrorism. Dawood is the main kingpin. Dawood gang, D gang are the main kingpin of narco-terror in entire world.
Yes.
Now, in the coast of Gujarat, Saurashtra, we have found
Yes.
a very huge catch of narcotic drugs has been found very recently. It was around, it is said that 900 or 1800 crores of drugs
Yes.
heroin has been found. So it is a big concern for India. I think we have to find a way to stop drug being traded to India, being sent to India through different routes as the shipping has begun, has grown, as the economy is more reliant on shipping, on sea lines of communication. There are chances that Pakistan has been the poppy that is grown, the afim that is grown in Afghanistan is basically sold all over the world through the syndicate of drug syndicate of Dawood and ISI.
Right.
ISI is basically as the world knows that it is basically a secret service, a military intelligence department of Pakistan's army, but they have now become self-reliant. They have their own source of income, that is selling the heroin, they're selling the drugs to the entire world. So they are the narcotics kingpin. Dawood is a businessman, he is a supplier, but basically the main kingpin, the main people who grow this narcotics are ISI. So they are now self-reliant. They are earning their own billions. So their earning is in billions of dollars. So,
right,
not only the terror in Jammu and Kashmir, we are also wary about the narco-terrorism. And we are effectively fighting terror in Jammu Kashmir by, we have already got Article 370 and 35A removed. The security establishment is going very well. The terror removal is happening at a very certain rate. Pakistan is trying infiltration attempts, but India is foiling them due to our the strictness of our security grid is so technically so much good that their infiltration attempts we are foiling their infiltration attempts.
Right. Manoj, you spoke about sea lines of communication, and SLOCs are very, very important as far as maritime security is concerned. Now, if I may draw your attention back to PM Modi's trip to the United States, maritime security is very important because the theater has been shifted from Afghanistan to the Indo-Pacific, and the US wants it to be heavily invested in that region. Now, there is a concept of Quad, and there is also AUKUS, which was newly conceptualized. How different are they from each other is what many people are asking.
See, as far as Quad is concerned, India and the world, we wished that a Quad would become an Asian NATO of sorts. Our wishes remained wishes usually remain wishes, and the US has come up with unke gore logo ke saath, they have come up with a new pure militarily setup, that is AUKUS, Australia, UK, and the US, and they are going to empower to fight the China, to resist the China. US and UK have vowed to empower Australia with nuclear submarines. The Europe is with it. France is very very because Australia has cancelled their submarine deal, but the Europe is going very soft against China. They want Chinese labor, they want Chinese technology. So there is some discontent in the West. But as far as Quad is concerned, Quad has been a security dialogue. It has been a more of a diplomatic thing. We wanted it to become to be transformed into a pure military setup with these four nations, four democracies: Japan, Australia, USA, and India. We wanted it, but US isn't seem too keen to get the code like a pure military thing. We have been the code in the previous meet also. We have been discussing so many things like vaccine and uh, COVID was discussed. Even during this core meeting, there were basically their intentions are very clear that in the they AUKUS or port, they want to resist China's aggression in Indo-Pacific. They want to ensure that free and fair Indo-Pacific and SLOCs are maintained, sea lines of communication are maintained, are to be ensured. And I think that entire world knows that Indo-Pacific is only safe unless Indian Navy is empowered, until unless Indian Navy is, because from a geostrategic point of view, in the Indo-Pacific, Indian Navy is the leading force. Indian Navy is the force that will for the next decade that will be holding the fort and safeguarding the Indo-Pacific and the main SLOCs that really matter in the world.
Right.
But as US has gone more aggressively with AUKUS, it shows when there is some lack of interest from the US side when it comes to countries like India and Japan.
Right. Absolutely. It's very interesting. And I think only time can tell us how this will play out, whether Quad will actually become something pertinent as far as security in the Indian Ocean region is concerned. But we'll have to wait for that. And Manan, I know that you've been actively writing these days as well. And you've come out with 2 publications so far, and most of them have been extremely good. They've gotten really good reviews, and you've written about Kargil. Now you're writing about surgical strikes that happened, about how India avenged Pulwama. Now, what can you tell us more? Please do explain what the thought process was behind the book, and also do tell our audience where they can find your books.
Yeah, the books are available in Amazon, on Flipkart. Book is also available in a nearby grocery store. Actually, as a soldier writer, it has always been my endeavor to write soldier stories, to write war stories. And there are certain stories which inspire you. As if I talk about Kargil, I was part of Kargil. I was part of Operation Talwar from the naval side, and it has been a learning experience. It has been an engrossing experience, Kargil war. And the Balakot airstrike, if I talk about my next book, Balakot airstrike, which has just arrived and which is receiving rave reviews from senior officers and soldiers alike, and also from my civilian friends. This was one operation which roused the emotions of an entire nation. When Pulwama happened, when 40 CRPF jawans, 40 CRPF constables were killed, the entire nation was in mourning. It was one such happening that happens even, I think, after independence of India. No such a huge terror attack has never happened. India has never seen such a huge terror attack. So many deaths have never been seen. So I think what happened was it was my calling for my martyred brothers, for my brothers in arms from CRPF. Right. I wanted to pay a homage to them. I wanted to give my respects to them. In my quest to know more about my fellow CRPF jawans, I started to research about them. So many people told me that these 40 jawans are dead. Their bus is looking like a big football ball. What will you be able to write about them? What will you be able to know about them? I said, in a lifetime, or in a journey, or in any situation, when you pass through a situation, even those jawans who died, those soldiers who died in a suicide terror attack, they had left their marks in the sense of time. It was for some researcher, it was for some loved one to search about them, to find them. And I was fortunate that through some last phone calls, through some last WhatsApp messages, through a last video calls, which was recorded through a last video message on WhatsApp, through some photographs. I was able to recreate the entire journey of those faithful the occupants of that faithful CRPF bus, those CR 39 CRPF Jawans. And I have tried to recreate, I have tried to write about them, I have tried to make the reader feel that what it was like to be in a CRPF bus in their last journey, what it was like to be attacked by a suicide terrorist, what it was like to be on a Mirage, which is for the first time in India's history going across the border, going across the LOC and attacking the enemy lands and attacking the terror hideouts.
Right.
So there are quite a few firsts that happened during those days, in the matter of those 12 days. I've tried to write about all of them from a storyteller's, from a soldier's point of view, and I know that this was the story that was needed to be told to India.
I'm sure it will be a very interesting read, and I hope those who are watching this interview can, of course, purchase the book and try to understand a perspective from a veteran who has served in the forces, because it's definitely not easy to narrate a story that talks about people getting killed or soldiers getting killed, and it must have been very difficult for you. So this is one small way, I'm sure, is how you are trying to pay back to the lives of those deceased. Thank you so much, Mananji, for joining us. And I hope you can join us again for such conversations. And of course, we'll be talking about your book in detail in some of the conversation. Until then, our viewers, please do like, share, and subscribe. We will be bringing out more updates about current affairs. Mananji, thank you so much for joining us. And please do join us again.
Thank
Namaste.
you, Sharan Shetty ji. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone at Citti Media. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Jai Hind, sir. Thank you.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.